So hello guys, we are back live on the Fastened Up channel. This time with a very interesting personality. I think somebody who has been associated with the Indian running scene for more than a decade now. A person with a lot of experience inside India as well as globally, from whatever he has learned from other countries, etc., and has implemented it quite a bit in India. He's Rajesh Vetcha. He's also the co-founder and a key person associated with the Hyderabad Runners, apart from a lot of other things. So welcome to you, Rajesh. Great to see you again.
Thank you, Vijay. Thanks for calling me on your show of Fastener.
So, viewers, this is a special channel, a special show that we are doing because we have a nice, small, niche event amidst the plethora of events which is happening these days. It's a 5K event which Fastened Up is conducting under the name of Festival, where there is a social section where anyone can run, and there is also a race section where we are giving prizes to all age categories, both men and women. It starts on 12th of December and is going to be there till 21st. So anyone across the country can participate. To show some attention onto the 5K event specifically, we thought it is great to have somebody as experienced as Rajesh uh, to let people know Airtel Hyderabad Marathon has been one of the flagship running events in the country for a lot of years now. It's close to being a decade. And I have had the good fortune of not just doing the full marathon there, the half marathon there, but also they have a wonderful 5K event which happens the Saturday before. And and this has got a lot of new runners, a lot of runners getting together, the corporates getting together. Rajesh, would you want to elaborate on how Hyderabad Runners is doing, and what is the thrill that you think comes to you when you think about a 5K run?
Yeah, first of all, congrats on taking this initiative to do a 5K run. I'm glad that somebody like Fastener is taking an initiative to get a lot of newcomers doing 5K run. In fact, in West, the new craze is a mile run and a 2 mile run. And they have anything upward 5 to 10,000 people participating in events of 1 mile run, which is very easy on the entire organizers, for the participants, and every other stakeholder involved. And it's a lot of visibility for the brands which are associated. It gets a lot of people. So this is quite interesting that you're doing a 5K run with the support from all the corporates and everybody. So a big congrats to you. I'm a very strong believer that it's not that whenever you have a marathon of distance of 21, 42, or even 10K, what you can do in the smaller distances is get a lot of new people. And it's good that you've taken it up. What does it mean to corporates? This is a great chance for corporates to encourage employees to take even as small as 5K. Have good team building events around it. And as you know, corporates have been advising work from home. This is also a reality check on their employees, how they're doing in terms of their physical and mental well-being, apart from the mental well-being. So this is a very good thing you've done. And I think you should only just continue to support and, get more of these kind of events.
So I'm not sure whether the viewers are having any problem or trouble seeing the video, because for me, Rajesh, your video is coming a little blurred, but I'm hoping that the audience is seeing you pretty well, hearing you pretty well. I've just noticed that Rajesh has gone off the video, so we'll still continue and hoping that he comes back onto the show. So we have been in discussion or interaction with Rajesh Vetcha, who is one of the preeminent people who has powered running in India, and currently with Hyderabad Runners. In fact, he's a founder there of Hyderabad Runners. So I'm hoping that Rajesh is back. Yeah, Yeah, Rajesh, are you back? I think we still have some problem getting Rajesh live, probably because of the internet issues. Is Rajesh, are you back? So I think there is a
Yeah,
slight. Yeah.
I'm actually, just a minute. I'm actually connected. Can you give me?
No worries.
Sorry.
Take your time. Yeah, yeah. So we are having a small technical glitch with some internet connectivity problems at Rajesh's end. Uh,
Sorry. Now, is this clear now? I'm sorry.
yeah, yeah, it is perfect. Perfect. It's better.
Okay. Thank you. Thank
Okay,
you.
so we are back.
Yeah.
Uh, you talked a lot about how there is a lot of involvement of corporates, etc. But Rajesh, you have also been a person who has got a lot of newbies into running. I mean, I can vouch for that because I've seen you in close quarters. Now, how important is the 5K distance for a lot of people? I mean, you have talked to corporates, you have talked to a lot of new runners in Hyderabad and across the country, across the world.
So 5K is a very good event for two things. First one, for the newbies, it's a chance to test where they've reached. So for a person who just starts, the 5K is something very, very big in terms of distance wise, but he or she does it. The encouragement which the happiness they get is something like for an experience trying to do a full marathon in a sub 4 or a 4.5,
Hmm.
So it's a sweet spot in terms of thing. And they know that they can cover the distance, nothing will happen to them. It's a very good thing. And for experienced runners, over a period of time, my experience has been that trying to get your personal best in 5Ks and 10Ks improves your overall running capability in doing a half and a full. So once a while, if runners can push themselves to do a good fast 5K as a time trial, it really helps. There are hardly any events which exclusively give this benefit of trying to do a good 5K time trial runs because I'm sure it's tough to get clearances for closures for a 5K, and people are really not attracted. And for people who are serious about a speed run, it gets difficult because you have a lot of newbies and trying to wade through them.
Hmm.
And you actually go through, you lose your time. So it's good to have like how you have a criteria for a full marathon and all that. You can have a speed 5K run for amateurs, and it'll be very interesting if this pattern can come in. And even mile runs and 2 mile runs, I'm sure that it's a matter of time. Please give them encouragement, and this make the people move on to higher distances.
Mhm. So you mentioned about corporates being more into running these days, into fitness these days. So when you, as a race organizer or a running evangelist, go and talk to corporates, what has been their response to when it comes to running events? Are they more open to getting their people into running? And if so, what are the distances that they are keen on?
So there are three aspects of corporates. One is we have companies which is part of the checklist for the human resources department that should make so many number of employees go and run. That is one.
Mhm.
There are some companies where they have a running club which is again supported by the human resources, but then there are enthusiastic runners who take it up. And the third is you have certain corporates where the CEO is leading the initiative, just like the TCS and so many other people. So varying levels. So our response has been very different when we go to different corporates. When we go to a corporate which is as part of the checklist, while we're happy to let them participate, but they don't have any kind of a training plan, so we have to start engaging them. When there's a running club, it makes it a lot easier because they are our brand ambassadors. They kind of take our entire thing to push for 5K. And when you have a CEO or somebody in the board of the directors or one of the CXO level, somebody is running, it's a lot easier. So the varying levels as to how corporates encourage employees to get through.
Mhm.
He has been, over the years, I'm talking about I've been running from 2003, 4. I see that now, thanks to the big brands and all those, there is definitely encouragement from the corporates, and many companies do have their own 5K and 10K runs. They can make it as part of their performance appraisal in terms of the health parameters, how fast you got it. And I guess then it makes it much better, and it's a worthwhile proposition.
Yeah, it's a wonderful way of incorporating fitness into your KRAs and KPIs, for an employee. Uh,
Correct.
but if you have to move into another specific question, so you have a lot of newcomers, corporates running those 5Ks, right? But from your experience, do you think these people who are running 5Ks continue to run and get into the world of running, or they fall out?
See, I'll give you the example of Hyderabad Runners. So, the Hyderabad Runners' vision is to get people to lead an active lifestyle and make running as a preferred form of fitness activity.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's really important is the people whom we get into running, subsequently they take into cycling, swimming, or yoga. I'm fine with it. But it's very interesting, Vijay, that from our experience at Hyderabad Runners, and I've spoken to so many other people, over the years, the number of people joining running and the number of people leaving running is equivalent because of injuries or motivation issues and all that. But slowly the ratio is changing now. I would say that for every 10 runners I get, at least 6 people are active, they're doing something. So there's a dropout ratio of 4. The question is, how do you handhold keeping them motivated? And that's where these running groups play a critical role, because at work it gets very difficult. So it's about creating this aspect of known as community fitness. That's what we are in. And if apart from companies, the local government, everybody kind of encourages this, it will become much better. But what is critical is once the person joins for 3 months, you need to be able to handhold these people for nothing less than 6 months to 1 year to make it a way of life. Otherwise, you see them going back. So we have this Couch to 5K program, which you are aware. We have been doing this for the last 7 years. We can see that the ratio of people dropping out during the training also is less, and people who are getting inactive is also less. But in a lot of trial and error, experimentation, which we got through and we have come here. So needs that required ecosystem, simple things like, the questions they ask is from, that right shoes, if they get a pain, can I get a physio? Can I get a sportsman doctor? Because if they go to a doctor, say if a 40-year-old goes to a doctor, he says that I'm trying to run a 5K, he may tell him, why are you doing this? You just chill out, don't do all this. I mean, that's a contrary opinion which you get from doctors.
Sure.
So that there are a lot of myths which need to be demystified around running. If that can be, that will be very helpful.
Good that you mentioned about the Couch to 5K program. I found that a fantastic program. I think it's a unique program. Nowhere across in the country is there a formalized structure, I would say, where there is a Couch to 5K program which exists, which is obviously there in Hyderabad. And also, I think it is happening continuously every year. And you also have a kind of a ceremony where people who have completed that 5K
That's
are
right.
kind of given a pass out
Correct.
ceremony, right?
They call it as a graduation run.
A graduation run. So it's a fantastic concept. Uh, so Rajesh, let's move on to another topic. Again, the concept of clubs, and I'm sure that uh, you have so many stories, maybe some told, some untold, about the evolution of running in the country and the club scene over the last 10, 15 years. So, what's your take in the last 10 years? How clubs have contributed to running in the country?
Yeah. See, when I first started out the club in 2005, February in Bangalore, and subsequently moved on to Delhi and Hyderabad, there were like handful, probably 4, 5 clubs. But it was interesting that these few events, whenever we met up people, they saw that, okay, there's a running group. We used to operate on Google Groups, and people used to go back and try and start doing it. While now, as I speak to you, probably there are around close to 350, 400 clubs, some of them registered, some of them unregistered, some of them in WhatsApp groups. There are levels. So these have played a very critical role in getting people to live active lifestyle and, take up running. Because when I first ran, I was trying to run a marathon. I remember that to get a running partner, it took me around 8 to 9 months to find a partner who was interested in running. So that was the difficulty. And this I'm talking about in a place like Bangalore. Now Bangalore is very big in it. And so these clubs are a very nice place wherein, they create, encourage the welcoming and support them. At least the beginning clubs. Of course, there are some clubs now, which I don't want to use the word. Sometimes, it become like snob value where everybody is put on by the timing and what is your speed. So there are those kind of clubs also. But these clubs, which are the running groups, which I call across the country, are very critical. And it's time that we can actually get together, put in a more structure to this effort, and make it all pervasive. So so we had at Hyderabad Runners, we had this opportunity to mentor many running groups across the country in doing various initiatives. They have been largely founded by people who come back from abroad, or some of them who have actually run a marathon. Some of them are into active life. So they have been very kind of encouraging, getting across women runners. There have been a lot of success stories. Simple things like running during Ramzan. It is a very big issue, but the clubs have created an ecosystem to help them run during Ramzan. You have the night runs and evening runs. So they have really done well. Many of them have adapted according to the place they are in terms of winter, summers, the terrain they have in. They're doing a very good job, I would say. But I'm sure we can do it. But what they're doing is just a drop in the ocean, simply because it's volunteer driven. It's very dependent on volunteering and around a few individuals. So you need to kind of democratize it. Like, for example, in Hyderabad, when we started out, we used to meet at the KBR Park, which was a hub. Then we realized that everybody can't come to this part of the city. We had one in Secunderabad. And we realized that there are many communities, gated communities. So we encourage them. So as I speak to you, we have around 35 chapters across the city, them active, vibrant. And that is where you need to really take this to the doors, make it as convenient, let them run locally, not necessarily come every day a long distance. Correct. Unless this benefit is created, it's very tough. So I'm sure all clubs are working towards this and doing their best. So they have been very creating. Unfortunately, these are stories which people don't know, they're not recognized. I would say like they're the silent workers they've been doing across the country.
No, fair enough, Rajesh. But I think I also wanted to just ask you one more angle to this, because from last 10 years now, the number of clubs or number of groups have grown, right? Now there are 300, 400. All that needs some formal, structured mentoring or coaching or whatever you call it, right? Because the guidance has to be proper. So, is there a system in the country where you have a kind of a structured way where there is a mentoring which is happening, guidance which is happening, or even coaching which is happening? Because the problem is when you have a mushrooming of clubs, the guidance has to be at some level proper, right?
Yes, I agree with you, Vijay. Currently, it's all unstructured. Of these 450 groups, some of their own challenges, some of them are inactive. They are there. So the guidance and structuring has been happening whenever people have approached somebody whom they know. And personally, I know how many clubs I have met across, told them the story, what to do from them. Some of them wanted to move on to become a society, so how to incorporate a society, how to build this, get their volunteer base, how to run this weekend programs, how regular they need to be. And the idea of getting them to go and participate in a marathon, a group, it builds camaraderie, it builds bonding. Since a lot of it is around volunteering, it has to be there. And what is critical now is, again, from my experience in Hyderabad Runners, is at some point of time, I realized that if we want to grow big and make this cost bigger, we need to professionalize. So we now have 3 employees. There's an office space. So So if you look at it, different clubs are at different stages. It requires a lot of personal time from members to kind of put in. And I know how much of my personal time has gone into this effort. But it's been a great journey. And so I think it's a matter of time. Like I have already told you this in our runs, like probably we should have a Road and Recreational Running Clubs of India as a formal structure. And anybody who's interested in starting a group, you should have a ready-made kit to be given to them. And those are the kind of things which probably some of them are already doing it informally. But I agree with you that putting a more formal structure to this would be helpful. There, it's probably some brands like Fast and others have to come in, and we'll be more than happy to partner for this initiative and help you build this and a formal structure. And you can actually set out what are the goals for it. At the end of every 6 months, you can review, train them. So this overall cost of being leading active lifestyles and running can be made more stronger.
So the other question that I wanted to get into was obviously that, Rajesh, that you have had a lot of inspiration from New York Roadrunners. I think you have also visited the Furman Institute of Sports, and got some guidance there. If you look at places in US, UK, etc., there's also the concept of professional running clubs, right? Athletic clubs, right? And you have people who are actually competing for the country, going to the Olympics, being part of the clubs. So,
That's
is there a possibility that even in India you could have something like that? Because I'm sure Hyderabad Runners actually supports a lot of national hopefuls, Olympic hopefuls.
Correct. So in India, that is possible. See the same, like for example, just for your information, it's just not about Hyderabad. During the British period, they had a lot of athletic and track clubs in India also. You had one in T, you had one in Bangalore. They were like, how we had the football clubs. You did have a track and field club in many of these places. Pune had, Bombay had. If you look at it from a history perspective, in fact, the 100, 200 meter silver medalist in the Athens thing was from one of the clubs in Bombay. So he was an Anglo-Indian, but he came from. So they had formal structures. This was copied from typical again to the British from the London Athletic Club, which is like close to 160 years old now. So they brought in, and they kind of this was the pre-Olympic Association formal structure. So these are all the athletic clubs used to be supporting, and they have done a lot of work in this space. And even now, I know a lot of these athletes who have come back now, they have become the presidents of the club and things like that. So I think it's a matter of time. In India also we'll get there. This again takes me back to your conversation, which I remember you telling me that Hyderabad hasn't got too many fast people and all that, but I'm happy to tell you that now sub 3 we have almost close to half a dozen people or 8 people who have cracked that thing. And it's just a matter of time that people will get there. You know that, Anubhav started with us, and now he's a fast Indian with 2:38. We have supported, I'm sure he has built a lot of his own on his own metal. So it again needs, like, for example, while we are very focused on getting newbies and the amateurs, we are more than happy to support a few hopefuls. Personally, I have been actually mentoring and supporting currently Sri Bugata, who is one of India's national holders. So we have reached a stage there. This is the only sport I say that the line between amateurs and professionals is fast diminishing, and I'm sure that it's a matter of time that from these clubs people will get on to go for this.
Great. I think I still remember when I was in school. One of the 100-meter 100 into 4 world record was created by Santa Monica Club in US. So those days we used to wonder how can a club create a world record. So there were so many great runners in one club.
Absolutely. The Japanese Ekidens are also about that. That ecosystem for Ekidens is phenomenal. You know that a lot of the marathon hopefuls from in Japan come from the Ekidens, and they're the best actually.
So for the viewers, we are taking questions. So if anybody is seeing this on Facebook or YouTube, please type in your question. We will be happy to answer that. Before I leave you, Rajesh, we are at the fag end of our discussion, 5 minutes to go. I also want to touch base the COVID year, 2020, coming to an end. And I believe the Hyderabad Marathon was one of the first events which actually took a very longish call to call off the August full marathon. And you, in fact, had given me a very valid reason for that, saying that even if things had gotten better by July, August, I remember you saying that anybody who trains for marathons would need a 8-week window at least. So since people are not going to get that window, we would rather not have it and possibly take it to the next year. We are seeing some events opening up. So what is your take on 2020, also specifically with respect to the Airtel Hyderabad Marathon?
So 2020, as I mentioned, you Vijay, is quite unfortunate. But I guess philosophically, if you look at it, it's a very good reset button for everybody to look at the professional, the personal life, and of course the passion side of things like running and everything. This was a slowdown for me personally. If you ask me, this was a chance to reinvent the way I kind of trained. For a change, I kind of took to yoga, I took to drills, plyometrics, trying to do online. I had to decrease the volume of my running, but I had to keep fit. So it gave me a lot of a different perspective. And I know I would have never done online training, trust me, but it forced me to look at it. I guess human beings are very status quoist. Unless until you're pushed, you're not doing anything. So for me personally, that was the case. So for Hyderabad Runners also, it's been a challenge because we have not had the weekend runs ever since the inception in 2007 May. Every weekend we've had a weekend run, and unfortunately we haven't been able to do in the last 6 months or so. And apart from that, the event was cancelled. This was the 10th year. I don't know if you're aware. Again, we are the first running group in the country to organize a city marathon as a not-for-profit, and this should have been a very memorable year for us. But this has been a dampener. So I realized that everything is opening up, and we are just hoping with the relaxation government is giving, we would like to see that things return to normalcy, and hopefully, as you're aware, Airtel Hyderabad Marathon is the first of the season. Even if there is some improvement by next February, March, we will seriously explore this option. The committee will seriously explore the option of conducting the event and having the 10th edition. That's what we're looking at. As I speak to you, we are happy to inform you that again our in-person training, that's on-ground training, is going to start from December 15th, and how it goes, and slowly based on what is happening, keeping in mind the government guidelines, the issue of the safety of the runners, we will take the appropriate steps and then try to see how we can come back to normalcy by next year.
Great. I mean, I think a lot of runners would be waiting to come back to Hyderabad, do a very difficult full marathon, and that probably in a memorable 10th year. Rajesh, we have one question from Arvind. Arvind is a good friend from Bangalore. So he's asking, what can we, I mean, you mentioned about the Ekiden kind of culture. So he's asking, what can we do to take the Ekiden kind of culture or high school runners running culture to India? Is there anything that we can do to get a change done?
Yes, you see, this is one of the things which we do at Hyderabad Runners, as you're aware, is we have an outdoor kids program, which we try to do during summer, and that can get them to be active at schools. Unfortunately, the school system in India is, if it's part of the sports periods which you have, and over and above that, there is very little encouragement for them to continue. And if you're not part of the school team, either the football team or the basketball team, and the rest of the kids are left out. So running is a very good way where you can keep it and keep them united, keep them form teams and start doing it. And then keep them fit also. So it's a very easy way, very competitive. It can come through. So if the schools are interested in doing something that, we'd be more than happy to support. So if this has to come through, as I mentioned to you, it is first from the schools, wherein in India, anything made as part of academics has its own value. So if you were to give marks for the sport or something, I'm sure that the entire country would be running and getting fit. So that is the first. Second thing for us, our groups like Hyderabad Runners, hopefully, if not the next summer, the year after that. So we have been having a lot of kids, and as you're aware, we do the kids run also. We would like to a more structured program for kids at school and off school, wherein they take pride in saying that I'm part of this running group and kind to achieve something like this. So that is something which is, we look forward to. But your the new education policy is hopefully trying to create some space for sports and extracurricular activities seriously. If the schools can take it serious, very seriously, we will be able to support, bring in our experience from whatever we have had, trying to do our other earlier programs. That is something which we would be definitely keen. That can be brought in from the high schools. I think Arvind's got another question. So clubs in India seem more about socialization and not doing much to sport. What clubs can do. Arvind, just to tell you that there is definitely a social aspect to running, and these are called as social interest groups. Have met around a cause, and there will be socialization. You just cannot avoid it. Let's be honest, man is a social animal. So if someone come there, initially they must have come for weight loss and trying to get to do a 10K, but then there is a social angle to it. It will be there. What more can clubs do? Use this social bonding and everything to build the club. That is how we evolved in Hyderabad Runners. People wouldn't, believe it, but all of our committee members, we have met over running. We have formed this group, got together, and have been doing it. We put in close to 150,000 man-hours, 1.5 lakh man-hours of volunteering every year. This has been possible because of the social bonding which exists there. So social aspect of a running club is important, but it shouldn't kill the club or take it over. This is a very fine line. So that's where the challenge comes.
Yeah, I mean, I can't agree with you more, Rajesh, because if I think how running is structured, I think it's already, in a way, there are points where the socialization is actually meeting the sport. But I agree with Arvind that more can be done, because if you look at amateur running, it has, because of the events that you guys are doing, it has created a space where serious athletes, the professional athletes, are already getting more and more opportunities to engage with amateur runners, and amateur runners getting engaged to the elite runners,
Yes.
which actually gives a two-way flow where possibly as the years go by, more things can come out and probably help the amateurs and a lot of these running clubs to do more for the sport per se. And I think that movement is slowly taking place, but can be accelerated.
I agree with you. I'm sure. It's a matter of time wherein probably somebody like you or Anubhav can start pacing the elite in India, at least for, in bits and pieces like 15 kilometers. You can do something wrong. And that would be very interesting. We very well know that if it's 15 kilometers, you will change your strategy for running.
Yeah.
I think if seriously thought about it, probably next year, a couple of races, you can have this where, different stretches. Otherwise, you can have 2 paces or 3 paces instead of having one person is the professional. And the moment you do that, it improves, and you also understand what it is, and it's easy for you all to graduate. This is how it actually happened in the advanced countries, especially countries like US and Europe.
So thanks, Rajesh. I mean, I would rather take a bike to pace somebody, but that's another matter altogether. We have actually come to the end of this interesting session. I think we can actually talk to Rajesh for hours and hours together, because his information on varied subjects goes beyond half an hour, or even to an hour. But that will be for some other day. But I would like to conclude this by saying that Fastened Up is having a 5K festival run this December, where we are giving an opportunity to runners across the country to participate in a 5K running event between 12th of December and 21st of December. All they have to do is go to the Fastened Up website, which is www.fastenedup.in, and go to the festival event tab and get yourself registered and follow the steps there. There are 2 categories. One is a social event where anyone wanting to run can run without even having a registration fee. The other event is a race where you get prize money for different age categories for both men and women. The idea here is to get everyone involved in a smaller distance, because India today has a lack of 5K events, and I think it was very important to take this forward. So I hope a lot of people would register. And Rajesh, thank you so much for joining us. and I'm actually looking forward to getting back to Hyderabad and running your 10th edition of the Airtel Hyderabad Marathon. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Vijay. Thanks for this opportunity, and all the best for all the viewers for the festival. And please do participate and make the best use of what possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.